What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day today. We have a lot to go over today. There are so many things. You know, some days are really boring in the crypto space. Today is not one of those days. Now, Bitcoin, as we had anticipated, did in fact come down and reclaim this bottom area as support. You can see now we officially have these 3 points of contact, and you can see that we are still in this formation, right? We are forming an ascending triangle, and we did get exactly what we had anticipated, where we had this atom pattern, this Eve pattern, and we did say that the Eve could end up being a double bottom Eve, just like the fractal had played out previously, and look at what we're doing today. But before we get too excited, because everything has been playing out as we had anticipated, tomorrow is a big day. We do have the CPI data being reported. A lot of people are anticipating it's going to be around 8.8%, which is actually 2.2% higher, right, than what we had last month. So what does this mean for crypto? Why is Bitcoin actually falling right now? Is it just technicals? I'm going to show you in a minute, but we have so much to go over today, and I need to talk about why the Fed may actually be forced into pivoting very, very soon. We're going to look at some historical data, and what I want to go over is the fact that they may actually need to pivot soon in order to avoid what is known as a death spiral. So we're going to talk about how that could be affecting the macro landscape for things right now, and I also want to talk about a legacy historic Bitcoin indicator that is about to flash, and it's only flashed 2 times ever, and it is very, very, very good at indicating whether or not Bitcoin has actually bottomed out. And if history repeats, we could potentially only have about 3 to 5 more months of sideways action before the reversal. And if the Fed does in fact have to pivot, which I'll show you in a minute why, this could be the storm that we've waited for, and finally we could be on our way to actually having that Bitcoin recovery. So very interesting video. Stick around, guys. And if you are wondering why we are seeing the Bitcoin price actually fall right now, right here, I just want to point out what actually happened. Now, over at the White House, they were warning of the decisive day upcoming. So having failed to hold the $20,300 support, Bitcoin appeared to react badly to comments on the inflation outlook from White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, right? So markets were already primed for higher than expected figures for June for the CPI, which, by the way, made new 40-year highs in May. So she went on to say, on Wednesday, we will have new CPI inflation data, and we expect the headline number, which includes gas and food, to be highly elevated, mainly because gas prices were so elevated in June. The worst of the reaction should come before the CPI data release, but also note that we have the DXY, the dollar, essentially being the highest that we've seen in 2 decades right here. And on top of that, you can also see that, like Will Clemente pointed out, the euro-dollar parity for the first time since 2003 is currently happening, which means that the dollar and the euro are basically both $1, and we haven't seen that in quite some time, right? So Crypto Michael was saying, could it be a sell the rumor, buy the news event tomorrow? Or it could be a kickstart of the World Championships deep sea diving, meaning things could potentially get a lot worse, right? So let's talk about what is happening right now. And I wanted to shout out the Happy Hawaiian, because right here you could see this is the Fed pivot indicator. So he says it's an average of 5-year yields and Fed fund rates multiplied by the national debt. You can see right here all of these historic situations when we get to these levels, right? You have right here, 1989, hiking cycle ends. April 1995, hiking cycle ends. Okay, so you can see every time we get to this blue line, we have the hiking cycle ending. Same in here for January of 2019. We are currently at these levels again. So he says as they gear up for the 75 basis points in a couple weeks, they would be knowingly blowing up the system. Now, we're going to get to some TA, and I will show you some opportunities for trading in a minute, but I think this is more important to talk about. So he goes on to say that this chart is essentially a proxy for the acceleration rate of interest expense for the U.S. government and has been a reliable indicator for Fed pivoting for over 30 years. And the reason is because the Fed wants to ensure that they don't go into essentially what's known as a death spiral. So that's DEBT, death spiral. So what is that? Well, it's an increasingly large debt load, which ongoing deficit that only gets exponentially larger as interest expense increases. So they say the Treasury has to issue more bills, notes, or bonds to fund interest, which drives up supply and can overwhelm demand. So for the past 33 years, the Fed has used monetary policy to ensure that this spiral does not occur. To avoid this, the Fed will need to pivot soon. Otherwise, they risk having to do even more easing and monetizing of debt down the road. And he says that they need to do this sometime between now and the 28th. Okay? So if they don't do this, then, essentially you're breaking this 30 plus year trend, and we could enter into that debt death spiral, which I would think the US would want to avoid at this point, right? They're saying that they want to have a soft landing. Let's see if it's possible, but don't worry, guys, everything's fine. We're in the hands of competent individuals.
On dealing with gun violence.
What do you think about Hunter?
Because make no mistake, sit down, you'll hear what I have to say.
What do you think about Hunter, your son? There's a video of him arguing with a hooker about how much crack he has. What do you think about that, Mr. President?
Okay? Because make no mistake about it.
So having a look right here, let's get into the chart right now. So that is essentially what he's saying the Fed needs to do to avoid that spiral. Now I want to talk about a few indicators that are in fact showing that we are bottoming out potentially, but right here, remember yesterday we were trading upwards in this area right here, and I did say don't put the stop loss exactly at that level, put it a little bit lower around that $19,000 break-even point, because I did think that we were going to come down here to this level, and right now this is the perfect opportunity to be putting in a long. However, the only thing we need to just be a little bit cautious about is the news tomorrow, right? We don't want to be trading a news event, but ultimately this is the support that we're looking for, and we are still in fact putting in that higher levels. And if we come over here and have a look, yes, we've deviated slightly, right? We've had a slight deviation from this fractal, but ultimately the main takeaway is that this fractal had an upward sloping trend, right? And if we take that fractal out of there, what you want is this upward sloping trend, and we are still in fact seeing that. So right now it is playing out, and if you guys do want to trade that, I do recommend checking out BitGet. They have a 20 Bitcoin daily withdrawal limit for non-KYC users, which means it is in fact kind of friendly for the US right now. If you guys are interested, make sure that you take advantage of those bonuses below. There's over $4,000. Use the link below if you guys want to get that. And also extra $3,000 if you want to do the whole referral thing that they have. But check that out below and make sure that you guys watch the tutorial popping up above. Lots of bonuses, multiple different exchanges you guys can check out. But BitGet is kind of the US friendly exchange to check out right now if you guys are interested in trading. But you can see right here, ultimately what we are looking for to confirm that we're breaking back, essentially not breaking back into a bull trend, but that the bearish trend is coming to a bottom, would be getting above this simple 50 moving average on the monthly, which currently really isn't that far away. We essentially just need to close a monthly candle. So we have to close an entire candle for the month above $21,560. It's not that far out of the cards to do, considering where we're at right now. Bitcoin essentially only has to go up about 6.8%. And if we can close above that, then that will put us back above this accumulation range, which would mean that we have had that bottom and we are looking to move forward. Now, I wanted to talk about something that we've not seen very often. In fact, we've only seen it happen twice ever in Bitcoin's history, and it's happening again right now. So you guys are familiar with the pi cycle top indicator, right? A lot of people, and actually, in fact, when we did get our the top signal back here, I was a little bit skeptical about that, and I'll be the first person to admit I didn't think that that was the top. Nevertheless, we did end up falling. A lot of people said, oh, see, you should have realized that it was the top indicator. But then what ended up happening was we actually ended up going all the way up here, and we put even a higher level than we did before. We were around 64,000 when we got the cycle indicator top, flashing, and then Bitcoin dumped down to 30, but then we went up to almost $70,000. So, you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt. So was it the absolute top? No, technically it wasn't, right? So I wasn't really wrong, but nevertheless, it was a good indication that the top was getting close, right? So on the flip side, that being said, we will pay more attention to this. You can see it has accurately called some tops right here back in March of 2014 when the price of Bitcoin was around $700, and then again up here when the price of Bitcoin was around $13,000. Well, if we actually look at the pi cycle bottom indicator, which unfortunately I don't know that Glassnode Studio offers that. I've tried to find it over here, but I don't see it. So if we actually just plug this in, you can actually see essentially, this is the inverse of the pi cycle top. So it's the 471 moving over the 150 exponential. These are these two lines right here. You don't really have to know much about it. But if we zoom in right here and have a look at the last time that we got that indicator, where did we get it? Well, we had it right here on January 12th of 2015. And you could see that this is where we did have that massive wick capitulation when Bitcoin came down to $160, and that did in fact mark out the bottom for that price move, right? If we come over here, the 2017 top, we came down here, and where did the pi cycle bottom cross? Where did we have these moving averages cross? Right here, the week of December 10th, which was literally the exact bottom, okay? Technically, this indicator, flashes the week after, right? It's actually a daily indicator, but because this is a pre-made indicator, you can put it on any chart. I'm just looking at the weekly chart. It's technically tied into the daily, but the lines are the same. And if you come over here, guys, even though we have not actually gotten the official indicator yet, look at this. This is crazy. So these two lines are actually starting to ride right parallel, right by each other. And if we do get these if they do cross, then we are going to have confirmation on the pi cycle bottom indicator, which the past two times that it did flash did in fact call the absolute bottoms for Bitcoin. So not saying that this time could or couldn't be different, but I just want to let you know, historically speaking, this indicator is looking like it is about to flash. So we got the minor capitulation flashing, right? We didn't get the buy signal yet, but we knew that that meant that the bottom was starting. We also saw that we were falling through some of those major moving averages, falling specifically below the 600 daily, right? We knew that that was signaling going into the bear trend, and now we have a potential pi cycle bottom indicator saying that the bottom could be in for Bitcoin. Something else to mention. Something else to talk about is if we actually look at what analytics firm Glassnode, I was just showing you the pi cycle top from Glassnode, they obviously put out these reports and newsletters and stuff. And the one that they had yesterday was talking about this long-term holder capitulation, right? Which shows intervals right here you can see in green where long-term holders are underwater on their coins and losses are being locked in based on their spending. In combination, this indicates there is an increased probability that a long-term HODLer capitulation is in fact underway. So, a lot of people are saying we need that capitulation event. Well, Glassnode is saying we're seeing it right now. Potentially, right? Also, they pointed to minor capitulations as another sign that the current price resembles major lows seen earlier in Bitcoin's history. And if we actually come over here and look at some more data, this is the long and short-term holder supply in profit loss. This indicates that while many bottom formation signals are in place, the market still requires an element of duration and time, a little bit more pain, a little bit more sideways to establish a resilient bottom. Bitcoin investors are not out of the woods just yet. This is all coming out of Glassnode. So how long can we expect to wait? Well, over here, I showed you yesterday, Meltem Demirez of CoinShares, she said full impact of crypto bear market is not yet in. We are not seeing a catalyst for reversal in sight. Now, if you guys have been following Rekt Capital, I really enjoy his analysis over on Twitter. He's been essentially talking about the typical lengths of these cycles, when we tend to bottom out. So he says Bitcoin has around 650 days until its next halving. Historically, Bitcoin has bottomed around 517 to 547 days prior to the halving. So if history does repeat, then Bitcoin needs to waste another 100 to 150 days before putting in an official bottom. Best way to burn time is via extended consolidation or relief rallying, right? So we could still have, and if you actually do the math, 100 to 150, you're looking somewhere between 3 to 5 months before having the total end of this bottoming out for Bitcoin. But it is possible that because we're seeing the Bitcoin pi cycle bottom indicator about to cross over, that we could be closer to the bottom than even some of these people anticipate, because there still is a lot of negativity out there, guys. You had, according to results of a Finder poll, 53 crypto and Web3 industry experts are predicting that Bitcoin will continue to slide lower. They're calling for around an average of $13,600 Bitcoin in 2022. And they're saying that by the end of this year, Bitcoin is only going to end around $25,000 in December, which would sort of say that we could be having that 5-month recovery, right? Because we're, July. So August, September, October, November, December, 5 months does technically put us at the end of this year. So that could be, the recovery happening. Now, do you guys actually think Bitcoin is going to go down that low? As I did say, 13,800 is a very significant level for Bitcoin. I showed you guys, if we go back over here on the chart, where is the chart right here? You guys can see the significance of where we had this candle close in 2017. That was exactly at that $13,800 level. And we also had this candle wick right here, this candle wick right here, and we also had this candle resistance open close right here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 candles that we had dancing around that level, which is why I say that the $20,000 level is not actually the most critical level. The most critical level for Bitcoin to flip support is actually 13,800. Will we actually go that low? I don't know, but according to Martin Frailer, the CEO of Morpher, he says that Bitcoin could drop below 12,000, but then he sees a rebound to 40,000 by the end of this year. So in the next 5 months, he's saying that he believes we can go down to 12,000 only to then end the year at around $40,000. He says it's reasonable to expect to see more big projects fail in the next couple of months. Retail sentiment is at historic lows due to global economic uncertainty and inflation. Highly leveraged miners who just had to digest the China exodus will capitulate and increase the downside pressure even more. We will see an even lower Bitcoin price. Although in all fairness, we already are seeing the miner capitulation. I showed you guys, I'm not to be whatever, but once again, there's a lot of analysts out there, and I know that I don't have the biggest channel, and I try to be as humble as possible, but we definitely caught the miner capitulation before everyone else. We definitely called the Bitcoin miner Adam and Eve pattern, and then I saw a lot of other people talking about it. And, the Bitcoin pi cycle indicator bottom, I'm not the first person to talk about that, but, we did catch it relatively early, and I do think that that is something we should definitely be paying attention to. Because, look, the thing is, I feel like we're about to go into a rant, and then I'll end on a couple stories real quick. But, you got to understand that I realize that there's a lot of things happening right now that we haven't seen for Bitcoin. This big traditional equity bear market and the war that's going on right now and the Fed with their hawkish stance, even though they may need to pivot soon. But the point that I try to stress to people is, when everyone is in euphoria stage, right? And Bitcoin is just going 19,000, 20,000, 21. And then all of a sudden, we blast through it. We blast through the previous 20K all-time high, and we go from 20K all the way up to 70, right? And then everybody says, okay, we're going to 100, we're going to 200, we're going to 1,000,000. And you have this over exuberance. That's times where you start to get a little bit cautious and say, hey man, everybody's got their laser eyes on, everybody's calling for these higher levels. The same thing goes in the other way. But it's harder because when people are losing money, it's not euphoria, it's depression, it's anxiety, it's anger, it's fear, right? And I can tell you that most of the time people start to get this bearish, it doesn't get as bad as everyone says it's going to get. And I know that people say this time it's different. Why is it different this time? Okay, there's some slightly different Fed policies, monetary policies going around right now, but fear and greed do not change. They were the same 5,000 years ago. They're the same today. People get greedy. People get fearful. And right now, you're seeing the lack of interest in crypto. I can see, look at the videos, look at the views on my videos. My videos are getting 33% less views than they were getting 2 months ago. People are giving up. You're reading the comments down below in the description of the video. If you guys go below, you'll see some people saying Bitcoin is dead. Bitcoin's going to zero. If you think Bitcoin is going to zero, why are you even still watching crypto videos? I don't really understand that. But, at the end of the day, what this is telling me is that it's time to start to become a contrarian. It's time to start going against the herd. Because remember when everyone was calling for the 1,000 Bitcoin, $1,000 Bitcoin, right? In the 2018 bear bottom? And what happened? We didn't go that low. We only went to 3,000. So all those people that were sitting on the sidelines waiting for that $1,000 Bitcoin, it never came. It never came, and literally 5 years later, we still have never went down to those levels. So yeah, that's just basically my take on it. I do think that it is time to dollar cost average, become a contrarian, and these are the opportunities that people wait for. You know, how many people are like, oh, if Bitcoin ever goes down to $30,000, I'm selling my kidney. Okay, well now Bitcoin's at 20,000. It's at 19,000 actually today. And yet these same people are too scared to buy. So it is what it is, guys, but we do know that these bear markets, these trends, these bottoms, these are where the legends and the heroes are born. So let's end on some good news today. So PicPay, a Brazilian mobile payment app with 30 million active users, plans to start supporting crypto payments. The company also revealed plans to create a cryptocurrency exchange in its app and launch a stablecoin pegged to the Brazilian real. And also, just some good news, potentially for those who are affected by Celsius. It says Celsius debt is now down to around only 120 million after Aave compound repayment. So, some people are saying, well, wake me up when I can finally withdraw my funds. Okay, I agree, that would be nice. But nevertheless, it does seem like they're starting to pay down their debt. So that's it for me, guys. Like I said, make sure you take advantage of that BitGet $4,000 plus up to $3,000 referral. And they do have copy trading. Wow, it looks like some of these guys aren't doing too well today. So this is why I say you got to be careful with who you copy. Let's see the top traders. Okay, so this guy, quadruple A or whatever. See, now this is what's weird. So he's up 6,800%, but the P&L is down 6,912, which is kind of interesting. I don't know what that means. Maybe his copy traders are not following exactly, but if you guys are interested, make sure you check out the links below. But I am letting you guys know that there are a lot of opportunities right now for some shit coins. You can definitely short them over on BitGet. And like I said, if you guys do it, you can do trading using USDC. And if you are cashing out in Coinbase, little known loophole, they don't charge you a fee if you use USDC. Just throwing it out there. So make sure you take advantage of those guys, especially during these times. It takes like 20 seconds to sign up, no KYC. And if you are looking to trade, make sure that you watch the tutorials popping up right here, right now. My name's K-Dub. This is Crypto Zombie. See you guys again tomorrow. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.